What's up, guys? Welcome to the James Boudreau podcast, where I sit down with people from all walks of life to talk about their stories, experiences, and ideas. This podcast is brought to you by Watson Motors, the official studio sponsor. If you're in need of a Jeep, Ram, or Dodge, or whatever, these guys have you covered with great deals and even better service. So hit them up in Manistee, Benzie, or Ludington, or check them out online at watsonmotors.com. Listen, support the people that support the show. Now let's get into it.
Okay.
So like I was saying earlier, I said I saw that article a while ago. And are you a Manistee native?
I am.
Okay. All right.
I am, yes. I was born and raised here in Manistee.
And there's some familiar. When did you graduate high school?
93.
Okay. All right. I graduated in 97. Just missed you.
I'm a Scotchless maiden name.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
If you're familiar with that.
There's a few Scotchlesses
Yes.
here. That's for sure. What I think the big focus of this podcast is obviously being an event director, I think, is where I want to really kind of zone in on.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about the youth project for sure.
Okay.
But, I did my sleuthing a little bit.
Okay.
I went on LinkedIn to really get the outline, and I had no idea. So when Jason referred me to you, I'm like, all right, so I got to really find out, what exactly she does. And then I looked on your LinkedIn page, and I was like, holy shit, how do you have time for all this stuff?
I don't sleep.
Honestly, I feel like I got a pretty full plate, but there's so much that you're involved in. Let's talk about North Mitten Events.
Great.
So that's your company.
That is my company.
Okay, so why don't you tell everybody what North Mitten Events is, and then I want to kind of find out that genesis story too, like how you got into this stuff. Because that's basically, aside from, Director of Recreation at Crystal Mountain, but North Mitten Events is what you've been doing for a little over 5 years now.
Yes. So, actually, it started at Crystal Mountain. So, as the director at the resort, I created a race, which is called the North Mitten. And I did that way back in 2014. And at that point, it was a different item. It was a fill-in for a busy Memorial Day weekend. Well, when I left the resort in 2020, I purchased the rights to that event and created my company, North Mitten Events. And so since then, it's a standalone event at the resort, and I now own it and operate it. And so North Mitten Events was created to...
This episode is brought to you by Brandon Ball, broker-owner of Dwelling Realty, Keller Williams, Northern Michigan. Are you looking to sell your home? Then look no further. When you list your home with Brandon Ball, you'll get a trusted advisor who will guide you through the entire selling process. With extensive knowledge of the local market, he'll help price your home competitively to attract the right buyers. And with proven marketed strategies, your home will be seen by the most qualified of buyers. With 17 years in the business, you'll have someone experienced who's on your side. Contact Brandon today to get started selling your home. 231-690-4981. That's 231-690-4981. Or Brandon at dwellingrealty.com.
Focus on people and planet health. I'm a big environmentalist, and I believe that we need to do all we can to sustain both people and planet health. And so North Mitten Events was created to provide endurance events, outdoor ventures, and environmental education.
Where does the passion for outdoor endurance events come from?
Well, I've always been an outdoorist and enthusiast, and I started running in 2010, I guess it would be, and I ran my first marathon in 2013, and then created this race in 2014 at the resort. At the resort, I was fortunate to be there when they didn't have much recreation, or start when they didn't have much recreation, and now they have a full plate, and many of those things I had my hands in, and endurance events were one.
That's so rad. So I really wanted to pick your brain on that. All right, so obviously you're an athlete.
I am.
And so that's where the passion comes on my end for the events that we put on with my two business partners, is because I really enjoy running.
Yes.
The other two are really into cycling, but so we just kind of merge those passions for this. But for me, it started off with just a little tiny 5K.
Yes.
And that we had a nonprofit for that. And then the board kind of dissolved because everybody was moving in different directions. You know how it gets.
Right.
Everybody's got shit going on. And I'm like, I want it. So what do I got to do to get it?
Nice.
And it just took off from there. But the size at which the North Mitten Events is incredible. I think you do a wonderful job with that.
Well, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. I'm kind of a one-woman team,
Yeah.
I run and operate it. I do obviously rely on my volunteers a lot, and my friends and family come out and help. So right now I own two events, which is the North Mitten, and then I do the Betsy Valley Trail Run in the fall, which ironically was my first half marathon. And way back when the trail actually approached us at Crystal, and we weren't in a position to take it on then. But then when I started my company, I decided that'd be perfect because it's right in my backyard.
So how do you organize this? How do you organize your time for these multiple events?
Well, I do definitely look at the calendar before I take anything else on. As I mentioned, I have those 2 races, but I also contract with other organizations and help behind the scenes and other things.
So is that the Vasa?
The North American Vasa, I was the race director for 22, 23, and 24. Last year I worked behind the scenes and helped the new race directors.
So are they just contracting you
Yes.
through North Mitten to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then Ironman, which is the other big one.
So you're the volunteer director for Ironman.
I am the volunteer director.
Now, is that for Ironman, or is that for just Ironman up in Frankfurt?
So 2 years ago, before I took on my new position, I actually did a lot of traveling with Ironman, and I was fortunate to actually travel all over the country,
So sick.
including the national championship in Kona, which was amazing as it was their first return to Kona after COVID, and it was the biggest event I think they've ever hosted. And so I was able to take my kids with me, my daughter then being 16, help run an aid station at the national championship in Ironman in Kona, which was amazing. So I was fortunate to, again, travel around the country and get my hands in all the different areas. And I know the race director pretty well in Frankfurt, and he asked me to be the volunteer director. And as I'm the local Ironman contact, it was perfect, and it's been awesome because it's a great connection with the community, and I get to see every piece of it. So yeah, it's been awesome.
So talk to me about volunteer coordination, because that's the only anxiety. That's the only anxiety I have being a race director, is ensuring that we have enough volunteers.
Yes.
And it seems to me, so this is our 6th year doing our event, and it's like 2 weeks before, it's like, we don't have anybody signed up to volunteer.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, I'll volunteer. Well, go online and sign up so I can see this.
Yeah. Well, with Ironman comes a president, of course, and many people want to be involved in that event.
Yeah.
So, but you always get your pros and cons in bringing an event that size into a community. Again, having the opportunity to see other events, we are fortunate here in Northern Michigan, as most of the community is very, very supportive of the event, and so they want to be a part of it. Whether they sign up to volunteer or they're just standing on the sidelines cheering on the athletes, it's amazing.
My in-laws, the first year that Ironman came to Frankfurt, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law both participated in it, and they went down with my other brother-in-law and did an aid station.
Nice.
They live like almost in Ludington, kind of, and they're like, we're going to go up there and we're going to do this,
Great.
in their 70s.
Great.
But they loved it. They were like, you can't believe how amazing this is.
Right.
I had the store, couldn't make it up there, but that's the crazy thing. I know I'm getting off track. I want to get back into volunteer stuff, but that is the crazy thing about an event that is that big. Every year since that event came to Frankfurt, I can see all the participants in Manistee. They're all walking around with their Ironman gear.
Yes.
They're staying at our hotels or eating at our restaurants. I'm just mentally doing the math. And then a lot of them would come into my store and be like, we're just looking because tomorrow we're coming back, but we can't have anything today.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
You can't put any of that poison in my body today.
Exactly.
But it's great. And I've said, and if Frankfurt ever drops the ball on this, like I thought they were going to this past year, I am hugely behind the scenes pushing for it to come to Manistee. But
I think there's many communities that would fight you on that. So.
I bet they would.
So as a volunteer director, it's a huge job. As you and I both know, are, again, coordinating for our events, whether we need 10 or 50 volunteers is a job. But for Ironman, I coordinate over 900 volunteers.
Wild.
But we've got a pretty good system. And in my 5th year, this will be my 5th year, we have a lot of loyal returning volunteers. So that really helps out a lot. So the nice thing with Ironman is that they provide funding through a grant process. So there's local nonprofits that can interview or apply for a grant through the Ironman Foundation, and then they give back to the community. So every year it's about $20,000 to $30,000 that they give back to the local nonprofits.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not even including the money that they pay the city for services.
No,
which
that's
I think people sleep on that a little
they
bit.
do.
There's
a
lot of money that comes to the city for this event.
Yes. So we have many nonprofits that actually are, fighting for those positions. They want to be a part of it. And again, it's just a great event to be a part of.
I mean, I don't know how you put it together at that scale, but I guess, you get good at it. You've been doing this kind of thing a long time.
Yes.
And it comes through. What are some of the major pros aside from the nonprofits? Because I think that's amazing that they get the opportunity to capitalize on some of that grant funding. But what are some of the big pros that you see by having an event at this scale and a community the size of Frankfurt?
Well, it's exposure, right? Again, when I traveled with Ironman, I can't tell you how many athletes from around the country would come up to me and say, "You're from Michigan? That's my favorite race." And actually, Frankfurt was voted one of the top races in the world last year. Yes. So again, showing off our beautiful piece of northern Michigan is awesome, and bringing their dollars into the community is a benefit as well.
Yeah, I can see all of that.
Yes.
I can definitely see all of that. I get frustrated as somebody who's a big proponent of doing things like this, whether they're mine or not.
Right.
Because I know that the impact on the community, especially the impact on the businesses and the amount of money that's generated in this event for local businesses, it's like, that's a circle on the calendar. We need to get ready.
Right.
And because we're going to really capitalize on this. And it frustrates me sometimes when there's some people in the communities that are push it down because it's a disruption to their weekend.
Right.
But
it's a weekend.
It's one weekend.
It's one weekend. Plan around it. Things happen, right?
Yeah.
We have other hiccups that show up that we're not prepared for, and we make it do. So
did your passion for event coordinating come directly from just getting in the running?
Well, my friends call me crazy as I like chaos, right?
Yeah.
So as you know, it takes a lot to coordinate, any event, but obviously the bigger, the more. I am a doer. I like to do stuff. So, and I like to be out there. So, it's been awesome to meet again those athletes from around the world, and being in another state and having somebody recognize you from Michigan is pretty awesome.
So, do you physically go out and do the courses yourself?
I have done some of them. Again, I'm not a swimmer. I'd like to be. I said I was going to do an Ironman before I'm 50. Well, I just passed that, so maybe before I'm 60. We'll see what it looks like.
I'm like a gorilla in the water.
Yeah.
But I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. The goal is just to get out of the water.
But once you're out of the water, on you go, right?
On you go.
So you can't wait for that moment. So
what was your driving force in purchasing that race from Crystal?
Well, it was one of many of my babies that I created. And again, just having the passion for the run and knowing that if I wasn't there, there wouldn't be anyone coordinating it. And knowing that I know Northern Michigan is a big running community, and felt like I had something to give, and everyone likes the race, so I wanted it to continue.
So because it is a business.
It is a business.
Which I think is great. like our event with Know Me Racing is a company. But man, we don't make any money. But
not very often.
no,
Right.
I mean, I think this year we'll make a little bit, but I mean, sometimes I think, man, if we just did it the old school way, like we started, where you just run across the finish line and we pull the tab off of your,
yes,
like one small rotating clock as a timer,
right?
Because the thousands of dollars that we spend on this race is crazy. It costs us $20,000 a year just for this race.
Yes. There's expenses for sure, and I don't think everyone realizes that. The more participants, the better.
Yeah, you got to have more participants, and we really saw that last year. Last year we added the additional races, the 10, the half, and the full, which was like, my partners were like, "You're crazy. Let's just keep it to 5K." And I'm like, "No. We have all this space. Let's just do it and see what happens." And then it was like, "Oh my God, we don't have enough volunteers."
Yes, there's a lot. There's a lot. So, the 11th North Mitten race is coming up in just a few weeks on June 7th, and participation is low, so I'm hoping for the next couple of weeks we get some more. But it's a very unique course. I don't know if you've been out there, if you ran those trails. It's a beautiful half marathon course. Anyone that's done it, it's awesome. So, I
mean, I'm sure we have a ton of people from our local run club that are doing it, because our run club has got this, like, we got to go and win every race kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool when they go to a race, and then at the end, when there's all these podiums, and Manistee is very well represented. It's like,
nice.
Get after it.
Nice.
So
great.
Yeah,
great. Well, we look forward to seeing them there.
So how do you go about achieving sponsors?
I create a sponsorship packet, and again, knowing community members, I'll reach out to those that I'm familiar with and those that I know are interested in endurance and would be willing to partner in that manner. But also environmentally, again, if you've looked at my website, we do a lot of environmental pieces to keep our races as eco-friendly as possible. And so I've had sponsors that help in that manner as well.
Now talk to me about that. Like, how are you keeping them eco-friendly?
So one of the first things we do is we offer to plant a tree instead of a T. So if you choose when you're registering, instead of getting a T-shirt, you can opt out and plant a tree instead. And so I actually bring trees to the registration and hand them out if they'd like, or keep them, and North Mitten will plant them.
Oh, very cool.
On top of that, though, I've also committed to every participant in every one of our races. I have bought seedlings and have donated them to local conservation clubs to plant those trees, so that every person that's ever ran one of my races, we planted a tree.
Nice.
Due to their participation. So that's pretty awesome. So,
where does this very strong desire for being wise with the earth come from?
Living it. It's beautiful. We need to protect it, right?
Especially here in northern Michigan. I mean, obviously everywhere, but like we have the lakes, we have the streams, we have all kinds of wonderful things going on here.
Yeah, I live on the Betsy River, the Little Betsy River, and I've always, again, just been an outdoor enthusiast, and I know that it's not on the top of as many people's lists as it should be, and so I just want to put more awareness out there that we can do small things to make a difference. My race, I do my best to not use single-use products, so water bottles, we use jugs instead of water bottles. We encourage our racers to carry water instead of using the cups. The cups that we have now are compostable. I have actually worked with an organization that provided cups. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. That'll actually provide you the silicone cups, take them, wash them, and then return them. But obviously there's a price on that too. So you got to look at the pros and cons to both of those. But we also just encourage leave no trace. We do a great job of just making sure that anything that is left that we pick up behind. And again, just the encouragement to protect what you see.
Yeah, we do a lot. We've done some course sweeping for other races before, and it's amazing the amount of garbage that an athlete will leave behind without even thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's important. Pick up your shit.
Exactly.
Stop leaving your goo packets on the ground.
Yes, exactly.
In your pack.
Exactly. So.
So let's talk about Armory Youth Project. You've got so much stuff on your plate. It absolutely amazes me. And you're the executive director for the Armory Youth Project. How did that come about? And why don't we just talk about how that came about and what you do for the Armory Youth Project, and maybe talk about what the Armory Youth Project is.
Absolutely. So again, passion being people and planet health, and so I was looking for a fill-in, not on time, but on the other side, and kind of stumbled across this opportunity, and it really aligned with what I was looking for. So the Armory Youth Project serves our 6th through 12th graders in Manistee County, and we provide this a space, really. We provide a safe space where the kids can come and stay out of risky activities, get a meal, and hopefully build friendships and relationships. Unfortunately, our youth don't have that positive influence as they should. Many of them don't, and so we focus on building relationships with them and finding the resources they need for a better future. And so I'm pretty excited about the participation that we're seeing and the growth that we're seeing. The students have the opportunity to come and go as they want. It's a drop-in program, not a drop-off program. And then they have the opportunity to take advantage of any of the classes or educational programs that we provide.
And what are those? I didn't know that.
And so we have a long list of programming. As we get into summer right now, or soon, we will be providing day camps. So Monday through Thursday for 2 hours a day, we focus on something. Environmental things, life skills. We do a safe sitter course.
That's cool.
We've done like a sewing course. This year we have, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head what some of those are. We're actually bringing in a Birds of Prey program, another passion of mine.
What's that?
Raptors, yes. Birds of Prey, yes.
That sounds great.
Again, all connected. The North Mitten Race donates a portion of their proceeds to this organization. I've done a lot of rehab work in my past with birds,
really?
And so it's a huge passion of mine. And so a good friend of mine who has created her own nonprofit rehabbing birds and doing educational programs will come out to the Armory Youth Project, and I'm going to help teach the first day, and we're going to give them some live exposure to an owl, a hawk, hopefully a falcon, my favorite. So.
Falcon would be sweet.
Yes.
Can you feed them like the pink mice? I'm just kidding.
Feed them all kinds of things. That's another conversation. So the Armory Youth Project is there to, provide a space. It's pretty awesome to see the kids. Like, I know last summer one of the highlights for me was we had some kids crash and burn riding their bikes, and instead of going home, they came to the Armory to get first aid and see what they needed to do. And so just having that space that kids feel safe, that they can find someone to support whatever their needs are. Yeah.
Is there a connection with the Recreation Association at all?
Absolutely, yes. I work really close with the Recreation Association, with the Teen Center, and with Staircase Youth Project. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Staircase is great.
Yes, they are. Yes. So Rita's bringing out a crew in a couple weeks, and she's actually helping us with our 5th grade orientation that we're hosting tomorrow and Monday, where we actually bring the 5th graders from all the schools out to the Armory Youth Project to show them what we have to offer and invite them as this summer they're of age to come join us.
It's really a cool facility.
It is.
I got a tour there once, and it was nice. We never had something like that when I was a kid.
No, and not many communities do,
yeah.
And that's the reality. And I think there was just an article in Up North Live about the lack of out-of-school programming in our area, and I don't think many realize that we do have this amazing program right here in Manistee.
Yeah, I was kind of a latchkey kid. I shouldn't say kind of. I was a latchkey kid growing up, but there's a lot of walking in the woods, a lot of maybe getting in the shit you shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
And having a place like that to go to, I think, is super important.
Unfortunately, the kids nowadays, though, don't go for those walks. They're on their laptops and their tablets, and they don't see the outdoors. So
you don't have to tell me.
To get them in the door and kick them outside to play basketball or, play a game of tag or archery tag, which we do, disc golf,
really?
We do. It's great just to get them exposed to something different.
Yeah, I hate the tablets. I hate the cell phones with kids. If parents would just take them away.
Yes.
Just take them away.
They can do that.
Your kids will figure out something to do.
Right.
They'll go outside and play. It used to drive me nuts. Where we live in a neighborhood, it'd be like my daughter outside playing, and you would see no kids. They live very close to a park.
Yes.
It's It's right down the road. You could see it from my house, the park. So we'd walk down to the park or just be like, go to the park and play. But there'd be nobody there. It's a
crazy.
beautiful
It's
park.
so sad.
And I know there's kids in the neighborhood.
It's so sad to see. I mean, there's not many kids on bikes anymore, and they're just not doing it. So to have that common space where they can come and socialize with their friends and then, explore new activities is a great benefit. So,
are you familiar with 906 Adventure Team?
I am not.
So I'm going to get some of this wrong, but 906 Adventure Team started in Marquette. I think 2014 with so what it is real quick before it started in Marquette, and Todd Paquette is the owner of 906, and he's the one who, are you familiar with the Margie Gessick race up in the
I've heard of it, yes.
So it's a huge endurance gravel bike race.
Yes.
They have a running aspect that they do every other year, and I think that's a couple 100-mile run. It's crazy. And he's involved in other races up there. So he started 906 with a mission of getting kids outside. It's getting them on mountain bikes, and it teaches kids the resiliency. It teaches them teamwork. It teaches them, that hey, things are going to get hard, but you have to, you scuff your knee, brush off the dirt. Let's get going. But it's built in a way that any level of cyclist, any kid could start. My daughter, so there's one in Ludington now. So he's got it in a few different parts of the state and a couple other states, and it's growing. And it's a huge investment for the community, meaning the two people that are running it in Ludington, Allison Schwartz, who's Shoreline Force. Are you familiar with that with the kids? Yeah. She's an educator, and she's also really involved with the Shoreline Cycling Club in Ludington. And Kyle, I'm having a squeeze on his last name right now, but he owns Trailhead Bike Shop. So those two saw some stuff online about 906. They went to a volunteer orientation deal up in Marquette, and we're like, this is amazing. We got to bring it to Ludington. And they had to raise $20,000, and that was basically to get all the equipment and everything they need for. So my daughter's 9, and it goes from you age out after 17. Okay. And so it's 12 weeks long in the summer. It's every Tuesday night. So you go 12 times. Nice. And you bring your so there's this whole thing, like I said, I'm volunteering, so there's this whole thing where the parent essentially is giving custody over to the volunteers in 906, and then we just have your child for 2 hours. And they start them off with checking the bike over. There's this whole, they call it the ABCs of checking the bikes, making sure that the bike works properly and that there's air in the tires, the chain's got enough lube, everything is good to go. Everybody wears a helmet, even the volunteers, the whole time. Great. And and they call it base camp, and it's set up the same way every Tuesday. And you do little obstacles. You teach kids how to ride their bike, and then as it gets more and more into it, then we'll go on bike rides. But it's all in a line. And there's volunteer at the front and at the back and in the middle, and we teach them trail etiquette. Nice. Where if people are coming, you just pull over to the side. If somebody's struggling, then the whole crew is struggling. We're all going to wait. Right. We're not going to go flying up a hill and down a hill unless everybody can come with us, kind of thing. And the main mission is we're getting the kids away from all that toxic stuff, and we're bringing them back outside, and hopefully they're developing some kind of passion for the outdoors, outdoor recreation, and trail maintenance too, and making sure that we leave the trail like we found it or better, kind of thing. I think it's just amazing. I wish it was here in Manistee because I'm selfish and I want all this cool shit here, but it's for Mason and Manistee County. Okay. So I believe I'm the only parent and child from Manistee that's in this year. They put a cap on 50 kids just to make sure that they can handle it and have enough volunteers. But that was the other thing too. I had never come across something so in depth becoming a volunteer for this with the training I had to go through, background checks, and it was a couple hours of classes and everything from first aid to child abuse,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
grooming. I mean, I
Yes.
was like, this is crazy. Like not crazy, but it was just like, wow, I've never experienced this. I'm just volunteering for 12 times, you know, but I think that's great.
So I, just out of college, worked for Outward Bound. I don't know if you saw that in my message. So I'm a big believer in experiential education. And when you go back to your question on how I got so passionate about the outdoors, I'm sure that was a big stepping stone for me. So I worked in the field for 3 years, teaching backpacking courses, rock climbing.
Outward Bound, that's the one where like kids go like away.
So Outward Bound is an experiential education school just like Knowles. And there are different schools. So there's some that are for at-risk kids and others that are just open to the public. So I worked for the Open for the Public school. I worked for the North Carolina Outward Bound school and in the Everglades of Florida. Amazing. So talk about teaching resilience.
Yeah.
You know, I think about how different that program is now than 20 years ago when I did that. And I always said that I'd send my kids when they were old enough, but I've taken them on their own backpacking trips. They know they should be able to teach those courses by now.
So what's that like for a kid? Like, what are you doing?
So just as you mentioned, you know, they get dropped off in the middle of the wilderness and they get taught how to pack that backpack for whatever you need for whatever duration. The longest course I led was 28 days. 28 days without a shower is a long time. But anyway, 28 days. But I still hear from some of those students today on the impact that course had on them. And again, when I say students, we had students as young as 14, but we also had adult courses. So this 28 day was 18 to 24 is how old the students were. So there's a variety. Again, just the experiential education to live under the stars for 5 days or 28 days is eye-opening on why we need to protect Mother Earth.
So it's like a hike to camp
yes,
kind of?
Yes,
when
yes.
you call it a course, you're
yes.
like moving through this course.
So we teach the map and compass skills, which I still do, and I do that at the Armory too, and show them where we're going and teach them the skills they need to know to get there. And for the first few days, we're instructing. After that, we let them go and sometimes fail and recollect and fix it, and it's very empowering for sure.
I'm sure.
So on the 28-day course, and anything 14 and older, 14 days and over, we would send them out on what we called solo. So for one night, they would spend the night by themselves in the wilderness. I mean, they would be,
Sure.
200 feet apart, but they are still in their own area by themselves, journaling, reflecting on what's happened and where they're going to go from there. So, yeah, amazing.
I mean, those memories, like you said, 20 years later, they're still reaching out to you.
Yeah. And I've been fortunate. I've actually gone back and taught a course here and there. I've continued with my medical background as well. I'm an EMT. I was a wilderness EMT. And so I like to get out when I can and help.
Wilderness EMT, mm-hmm. Like, let's talk about that.
So I'm sure you're familiar with the WFR courses.
No.
Wilderness First Aid. You've never heard of that? So it teaches you the skills you need to basically evacuate somebody from a backcountry. And working at Outward Bound, I had the opportunity to help with many lift carries. I lived at the base of Table Rock Mountain.
Where's that?
In Linville Gorge in North Carolina. They used to call it, they called it when I lived there, the Grand Canyon of the West, or the East, the East. I think it's become quite popular, as there's a whole Facebook page now, so I'm sure it's not as quiet as it was when I lived there, but it's so beautiful. So beautiful.
How many kids at once would you take on one of these longer trips?
So we would have 2 instructors, and we'd have up to 14 kids. Yes.
All right, so you're dealing with 14 different personalities.
Yes, that clash. And,
I'm sure.
But at some point come together and work together, and become the best of friends, and cry when they have to leave and get on the bus. So pretty awesome.
I have a reference in my mind right now, and I can't remember the name of the movie. But you got me thinking, when I was a kid, I watched this movie with Kevin Bacon where he took a few kids on something very similar, where they were like maybe troubled kids or whatever. It's a wild movie. Like, it's not even close to the experience, right? Like, they ended up like stoning Kevin Bacon at one point because he was a dick, but he was doing purposeful things. But I got to find that. I'm going to put a clip to that in this podcast. But it was I don't know why I'm thinking about that. But I can imagine. I swear my buddy, Mickey, his kid did one of these a few years ago. And it was like in Montana or something. I swear he said it was Outward Bound. And he said it was life-changing for his kid.
It is. So half of the season I'd be in North Carolina, and then the other half of the season I'd go down the Everglades of Florida, which is a whole new beast. So you'd be in a canoe, in a gunner canoe, out in the ocean and not see land. And we'd have to navigate across the ocean in a canoe with 14 other kids. So, yeah.
Across the ocean.
Yeah. So just recently we did a water project, actually last week at the Armory. And we had to shut down the water, right? And so there was all this discussion on the risk versus the reward of staying open versus closing. And, we brought in porta-johns and asked the kids, and many of the kids didn't care. But some of the staff were concerned, which they have every right to be. But in my mind, I'm like, I was in the ocean with 14 kids, and we had to make do in that scenario. I think we can get through this. So teaching that resilience, because today the kids don't have it, and they need to know that they can survive without that phone, without that instant gratification, and that if everything went away, there are tools that you can utilize to survive.
We've been watching, it's been out for a number of years now, but every other Friday night, we don't have TV at the house.
Nice.
I shouldn't say we don't. We have a TV.
Yes.
And but we don't have like cable or anything. We don't watch anything on it. But we get Disney Plus.
Okay.
So we have Disney Plus, and if I'm being honest, the only reason why we have it is during the winter when I'm on the treadmill. But where am I going? So about every other Friday, we'll spend an hour and we'll watch with my 9-year-old, and she's really in like history and stuff. And we would watch The Men Who Built America.
Okay.
And there are no kids that are that resilient today. I mean, we're watching young people at like 12, 14 years old set a course to go across the ocean to come to America and do epic shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look at my kids and I'm like, yeah, there's no way you're doing that.
Exactly.
And you want to talk about resiliency.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the argument is, well, there's no need to be that way anymore because everything is so easy. And I think that's the problem, is things are too easy. They're way too easy. And I think that we're going to start, the other thing, the rise in endurance sports, I think it's coming from the fact that life is so easy and people need something that's difficult.
It's challenging them.
That's challenging. I know many, many, many people that do crazy races, 100, 200, 250 mile races. There's normal everyday people. When I talk to them, my good buddy, Michael Brower, he owns Pigeon Hill Brewing Company. He owns a law firm. He's got a lot of shit going on in his life. But he's run a 300-mile race. That's crazy. And to listen to him talk about it, like, why do you do this? I don't know. I just really like running. I'm like, no, dude, there's something there. Like, not everybody can go run 300 miles, right? Have hallucinations and not know where you're at and all this shit. When he tells these stories, it's like, who does that? Yes. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I really do believe that there's a need to do hard shit when nothing is hard. Right. Because I think it's just in our DNA. I mean, we became because we had to run and fight for food. Exactly. And, we could have a tiger rip our head off. Yeah. And we don't even, Exactly. I thought you were going to say that the show you watched was Naked and Afraid. No, I wouldn't do that to my 9-year-old. And then you said you're 9-year-old, and I'm like, oh, I don't think that's right. But just walking across the country, like Lewis and Clark, that whole story, when we watched it, we can read about it as one thing, but to watch a dramatic depiction of these two people navigating across the country. Do you know that they thought that there were still dinosaurs walking around? Like, they thought the farther they went, they might run into like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Because nothing was explored. Right. Crazy. Right. They get all the way over, and then they're like, okay, now we have to go back and tell them that we made it all the way over. Yeah. Anyways, that's my TED Talk on the reason why kids shouldn't have cell phones. But It's just like in school, like you said, you have a 16-year-old. We fought for a long time not to have our older two have cell phones, and we waited until they were almost sophomore in high school. Then they really started getting into like track and cross country, and we couldn't pick them up or drop them off or whatever. We needed to get a hold of them when they were gone. So you can have a cell phone, I get it. But when my 9-year-old comes home and she's like, so-and-so got in trouble in 3rd grade because they wouldn't get off their phone.
Yeah, blows my mind. Yep.
It's not good.
No, it isn't. No. You don't need a phone in 3rd grade.
Now, I don't know how we convince parents to.
It's too easy. It's too easy just to hand them a phone and let them be distracted and walk away. I mean, but that's not parenting.
That's not parenting. I've had teachers on the podcast and I've asked them point blank, like, what's up with cell phones at school? And the first thing they say is they shouldn't be in school. But it's not an enforcement thing.
Yeah, who's doing that?
They're allowed to have the phone. And you have to say every time they come into the classroom, all right, put your phones away. Put your phones away. You don't need to be on social media right now. I need your full attention. And then they'll catch them, and they can't take the phone away. It's wild to me. There are some districts that are like, no phones.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's a school board vote or whatever, but I think we just get them out. We got to get them out. And
kids don't need phones in school. We didn't.
Yeah, I mean, like the iPad or the computer stuff, if and they're not doing homework anymore here in Manistee. There is no more homework, which is a whole nother topic. But then the need for the iPad and the computer to come home is unnecessary.
It is. Yep.
So having the waiver to sign to say, can your child bring it home? It's like, well, it's not necessary. There's no homework, so no.
There you go.
They got to go outside.
As a parent, you have that right. Yeah. There you go. Yes. Yeah. Great.
I know there's more. There's more. There's got to be more. I know the Youth Project, there's a lot of stuff going on there, which is amazing. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, what do you think? Is there a big difference between the Ironman athlete and your trail running athlete in terms of how they interact with you? And the reason why I say this is I got some buddies that are, when it comes to cycling, it's a whole different animal.
It is.
And so I was always like a gravel bike rider. So now doing the Ironman, I got a road bike, and I'm, but now on my Strava, I'm getting comments like, you're the RPMs and all this other shit, and I'm just trying to ride this thing. I'm used to going for a 30-mile bike ride in the woods and then having 4 or 5 two-hearteds when I'm done.
Yeah. There you go. So I can't speak for everyone, but ultimately, when you're out there, it becomes a community. People are supporting each other. You have the pros that come out, but they're in a different class and they're racing at a different time. So, what happens in that class, I can't say. I haven't been in that class. But as for everyone else, I mean, I'm sure you're going to get your onesie-twosies that are upset if you're not doing something. But there's many beginners that will come out and, give it their all and run the race, and that's so inspiring for everyone else. And I thought you would ask me at some point, and maybe it's on your question, what's your favorite part? And it's seeing those that decided I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go for it, and seeing that first person cross the finish line is awesome and exciting, but seeing that last person cross the finish line is the most inspiring. Those that have to crawl or have to, drag themselves to beat the time or meet the time, that's the most inspiring and awesome.
I love that you say that.
Yeah.
Because that is I get goosebumps when I think about it.
I'm teary-eyed.
my 100% focus once we turn the gun off or shoot the gun off is getting right to the finish line and just cheering. I know it drives my partners nuts because I'm just not there. I'm at the finish line. I'm clapping. I'm giving high fives because I don't know how many times I've hugged somebody who's crying. This is even if it's the 5K, it's not just a 5K for everybody. It's a goal. Somebody who could have been, struggling with some kind of medical problem, or they're they've been working to a point to try to lose weight, and this is like they just want to walk this thing and finish it. It's the coolest thing ever. Last year, I met a guy at Packet Pickup in the morning who had said he'd been training all summer long to run the marathon, and his goal was just to finish. And 3 times I went out on the course. I drove out to find him, and I mean the salt sweats, and he's just like, and, walking, and I'm like, hey. Not that I ever want somebody to quit, but it just looked like, man, I had volunteers calling me like, this guy looks rough. And 3 times I went out there and said, I can take you in. And he just refused. He was the last one across, but when he came across, it was like, you could just see it in his face.
That's amazing.
Like, I did it. I finished this thing. And that's 100%. I'll get emails from people like, do you think I can finish? And I'm like, well, what's the goal?
Yeah.
Do you want to finish? Because if you want to finish, you'll 100% finish. We're not going to leave you out there.
Yeah.
So, yes, you'll finish. Don't worry. Yes. I don't care how you finish. But you will finish.
Yes.
And I think that is just the best part of the whole thing.
Well, when you say that, it takes me to a race that, when you say finish could be different for everyone, right? Yeah. Crossing that finish line is the ultimate goal. But for some, it's pushing yourself to the farthest limit that you can. And I unfortunately had the opportunity to pick up some athletes on a Ironman course a few times where they just couldn't proceed.
Physically do it.
And so, talking them through that you need to celebrate what you have done and recognize what your limits are today and set your next goal to beat it. So it's a hard place to be when maybe you don't cross the finish line, but you've gotten farther than you ever have. So you need to celebrate that too.
100%.
Yeah.
That's always my goal. My goal is never to, 47 years old or whatever. My goal is not to get first place. Right. My goal is to finish.
Right.
And that started with my very first 5K years ago. I just want to finish.
Yes.
Get to the finish line. But honestly, with the Ironman, I want the hat.
You want the hat?
I keep telling my wife, like,
if
the
you don't
goal.
Get it, come see me.
I gotta get the hat, because isn't that the thing? Like, you can't get the hat unless you finish, right?
Correct.
Yes. So I'm finishing that thing. I have set little goals, like time goals.
Yes.
This is where I kind of want to be. Like, I know what it's putting it all together. You know that. Yeah. Like, I know what my half marathon pace is. I know what my cycling pace is. But I have to do all 3 of these now. Have you gone out and done the course? I haven't, but that's on the list. You have to do that a couple times. That will help you. So what is the cycling? I've looked at it online. Is it like a couple loops? Is that kind of the? Well, it's a little confusing at the start, and I actually haven't seen the final course for this year. We're actually meeting next week, following week, and looking at that with the agencies to confirm everything as well. But it goes up and out on 22 and then turns around and comes back. So that's the loop. There's, again, a couple extra turns at the beginning and at the end, but it's a beautiful course. Beautiful course. And have you ran the trail there before? No. Yeah, Betsy Valley Trail. So it's beautiful. You're talking about that the trail, that trail there, like by the Mayfair in Frankfurt, that kind of connects there. Yes. Yeah. In fact, we went on a little bike ride there. We did with my This is the thing. You got to get these kids out doing shit. Yeah. Like my 9-year-old, we just got her a new bike because of 906, and we've been trying to encourage her to get on. We took her out to that trail, and we did 10 miles. That's great. And that's a great trail for somebody who is just getting started on something, whether you're running or cycling, because it's super flat. Is the whole course flat? I hope. And you tell a kid to go out and ride 10 miles right now, and they'd be like, "No way, crazy. They can do it." They totally can do it. Okay, is it flat? So my brain went to 5 distant spots when you're just talking. So one Ironman, you asked about the bike course, it's out and back. The run course, now that's a little deceiving as you go around and back a few times. Yeah. So you actually get to see the finish line 3 times before you actually finish, which is hard. Because you get so close, then you got to turn around. Then you get so close, then you got to turn around. If the course is the same as it was the last few years. So, yeah. What's it like at the start for the swim? What's that look like?
It's so fun.
I watch
It's
it on
energetic
YouTube,
and it's exciting.
my heart gets pounding.
Sure.
Like, look at all those humans. That's nuts.
So it's every 4 seconds, a team of 4 or 6, depending on how many we have. We'll get in the water and off you go. Next. And I'll have plenty of volunteers out on the water for you.
Yeah, so what's the protocol when you're swimming? Like, can you grab on the stuff or... I don't know.
If you need to stop, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we don't want you to drown.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you disqualify in the water, aside from not finishing in time?
You're going to ask me some technical questions here. I'll have to get back to you on that. There's not a lot of disqualifications in the water. I mean, unless you don't go around the buoys, right? You gotta finish the course. You got to do the course. So, but if you need to stop and take a rest, you absolutely can do that.
I don't know how you can take a rest when you're in...
There's kayaks everywhere.
Oh, kayak. We love kayaks. We'll take...
Not that I'm encouraging anyone to stop at a kayak and hold on. Yeah. Those poor volunteers. We're like, what are you doing?
So how many athletes?
Well, it depends on the year, but last year, I mean, we had our biggest ever. I'm not going to quote it because I can't remember.
1,000?
Oh, more than that.
Oh, my God.
More than that.
That's insane.
I think last year was closer to 2. And the year before that was like 1,200. So, but last year it was threatening it'd be the last year in Frankfurt. Yeah. So we got a big bump. And now it's committed for the next 2 years. So this year, next year.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm more nervous about like going there the day before and going through all the
I miss that energy. When I'm there and I'm working, I'm like, oh, I miss this. And everyone's like, what do you mean? I'm just like pacing, excited, because it's just so exciting, you know? I think it's so exciting.
I mean, I'm pumped for it. I'm nervous as hell. But
the energy is great. You're going to do awesome. You'll be fine.
That's what everybody says. I'll
have to look up your number and cheer you on. So
I go to the pool here, and there's a kid, a younger kid. I think he's like 20 now, and he did it last year. And
a 20-year-old?
Yeah, and you know, we got to talking about training and stuff. And I'm like, God, this is the water that's really bugging me. He's like, oh, you'll be fine. And everybody says that. Well, you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. That's my freakiest point. Yeah, it's so crazy how different the courses are, though. So I worked an Ironman in Oregon, which Joel Gaff, who is the director for the one here in Frankfurt and the one in Oregon, he brought me out there to help kind of see the whole operation, and amazing, all behind the scenes stuff. And so, but the course there is in a river. And so it's all down river. So you got the current helping you. I mean, I talked to athletes that said, I cut my time almost in half because of the current. So you got to look at the course and understand the course from one to the other. So, yeah.
Yeah, I got to get I'm just waiting to get in the lake so I can really get that open water.
Yeah, you got to do the open water.
Got to do open water. Well, it's funny because I always think like you could swim. I grew up on the water, and my family owned a motel. Remember Moonlight Motel?
Yes.
My grandparents owned that.
Oh, nice.
So I grew up there. I mean, and at 16, I started living there and just swim every day and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I always tell people, I'm a strong swimmer. Until you got to go like 100 yards.
Yes.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Well, and you need to swim with other people. Like, that's my biggest thing is having all these people next to you.
Yeah, 4 seconds at a pop, and you got 12.
If somebody swims over you, how are you going to feel about that?
Probably not very happy about it.
So you self-seat yourself in Frankfurt, so make sure you're honest about that.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not lying about that.
That's most important.
You know, there are races where I'm like, I'm going to go in the first wave just because I want to start off first and get the race done and whatever. But, yeah, something like that, no.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like... What's the time limit for the water?
Don't ask me these technical questions. I'm not ready.
Sorry.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't know. 2, 4. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I can get back to you.
I'm sure I can.
I don't want to say it wrong.
You know, like my brother-in-law, I think he did like 40 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, so there's a goal, and I know what my times are in the pool. I'm also taking a lot of breaks, so...
I mean, it's over an hour.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get out of the water in over an hour. I'll be tired.
I want to say 110. I don't know. It depends on a lot of things. I mean, the number of athletes, but I think it's about 110. I got to look it up though. Don't quote me on that.
How expensive though? Jeez, oh Pete.
Crazy.
Like, I mean, I get everything involved. When I look at it and say, all right, well, it's a swim, it's a bike, it's going to be expensive to get in, and then there's all the swag and everything that you get. But when I signed up for it, I had no idea how much money they were trying to get from your boy. Like, I had to go through all these things and go, no, I'm not paying for that. I'm not paying. And then I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, this athlete experience thing looks pretty fresh, but I'm not paying for that. And then I start getting a little FOMO. Like, am I going to be missing out on a bunch of shit? But the goal is to finish. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Okay.
But I can see where it could get really expensive.
You're going to finish at your best effort.
Yeah.
Whether it's across the line or not.
I'm crossing the line.
Okay.
I'm 100%. You're going to have to drag me off that course. Okay. But I am crossing the line. That's one thing I can't do is not finish. But Janice, is there anything else that we haven't touched on? I'm just so impressed with your background and what you currently do now. It's really impressive.
Well, it's all interconnected. I believe my greatest job is being a parent. I have 2 children. My daughter's 18 at school, and my son just turned 16. She'll be 19 in a couple weeks. And there's nothing better, right? There's nothing better than seeing them grow and do good things in the world. And I think I've done an okay job at exposing them to different elements and what's important, and I hope they'll take that with them, right? And, so I believe it's important for all of us to get out. Again, I'm from Manistee, but I've done my traveling. I think everyone needs to get out there and see what the world's about and find what's important to you and spread that wealth, if you will.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think you're a super rad human.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
This was great.
Thank you for having me.
To get to know you.
Thank you.
I'm going to put all the links to all of your events in the show notes.
Great.
I'll put the links to the youth project in the show notes.
Great.
And hopefully push some more people in that direction. But
yeah, come run the race and come learn about the Armory. We're actually doing a summer kickoff on the 13th after my race, June 13th, and it's a community open house. And again, I don't think our Manistee community is aware of all the great things we're doing there, and would love to see some folks come out and join us for a barbecue. We're actually going to give away a bike. Still looking for that bike, but giving away a bike for the kids to get out and recreate on. So
I might have a line on a bike.
Okay.
Let me check on that, because I think I know somebody.
We just stopped in at the what was it, Trailhead? Trailhead.
Talk to Kyle?
I didn't. My marketing girl went out there and talked to him, but I think they just gave another bike, they said, so they're not sure if they can help. But anyway, we'll still
They've got a
work on
cool
that.
program there for
Yeah,
bikes,
it sounds like it.
You can trade up.
Sounds like it.
And that's an amazing deal. It's like half of what the original cost was.
Right.
Which is great.
Well,
Kyle hooked me up with my bike. I just said, hey, this is what I'm looking to spend. And it wasn't new bike spend. Mm-hmm. And if you can help me, within like 2 weeks, he's like, hey, I got a customer who's trading in his bike.
Nice.
And, another bike, and this is what it is. And I'm like,
so you got a tri-bike?
I didn't get a tri-bike. So I had it. I borrowed a tri-bike for a summer last year just to get some road miles in. And I can't do so it's just drop bars.
Okay.
But,
okay.
It's fine. And I'm sure, there's going to be people that are like, look at this guy, drop handlebars. But you know what? It works for me. And I go just as fast as I need to go.
Well, that's great that they have that program. I know that, like ski shops do that. Well, at Crystal, my kids can ski and board better than anyone because they grew up there, living just down the road and working there forever. So that's awesome. They do that for bikes.
Yeah, no, it's a great program. He's really involved in the community. So
nice. I'll have to meet him.
Yeah, he's a really good
Great.
shot. Yeah, you'll like him a lot. I can connect you guys.
Great. Great.
Yeah, I think there's something there. But I was just thinking about that bike. I got a buddy of mine who works in the beverage industry, but I think it's like a bike that's got like a beer brand on it. So I don't think that'd be good to give away.
Yeah.
But I'll check, because he was like, I got to get rid of this bike. It's a nice bike, but I'll check and see what's on it.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was rad.
Thank you.